but it can be a sign that, hey, you're about to try to do something that is truly so far outside your core skill set that the reason why you're putting it off is because it's unrealistic for you to try to do it yourself in the first place. And you actually need to get help from somebody else. As a programmer, you're often tasked with doing things with little or no guidance that nobody has done before. And this do-it-yourself attitude that we all acquire is really great for helping us be more productive. But if you want to move beyond being looked at like a code monkey, some of the skills that you need to learn, you can't just search for an answer on Stack Overflow. So in this episode, I'd really like to help you move beyond some of the things that you can do yourself and get help with the things that you might need to reach out to others for by knowing when should you do it yourself and when should you get help. First, I'll share some reasons why, as programmers, sometimes it's so hard for us to just get the help we need. And then I'll share some ways that I've learned over the years to get help when I need it, and you can too. So here's 3 reasons programmers often don't get help when they really need it. The first of these is individualized education. In many countries in the world, at least first world countries, we go to school from the time we start until we start in the workplace, and we're measured independently. We're graded independently. We do a lot of independent work. And so it's only natural that as our career progresses, we've kind of got built into us this feeling that we can't ask anybody else for help. We're measured ourselves. We need to do it completely on our own. The second reason it's really hard for programmers, a lot of times, myself included, to get the help we need when we can't just do it ourselves is corporate reinforcement. You go in to get a job at a corporation and they interviewed you and not a team. They measure you independently. They give you a promotion or a performance review or some sort of reward. And so it's only natural, again, if you're at a company and they're always evaluating you on your own performance and your own accomplishments, it's going to be really hard to feel like it's okay to just go out and get help from someone else. And third, as programmers, I think we often fall into looking for gossip over substance. Now, what I mean by this is if you go out on YouTube or many places online, you'll see a lot of these reaction videos and people talking about other people. But if you want to actually learn things yourself and not rely on just entertainment, you have to go to the source. You have to go to people that have original content. And while it can be, entertaining to find people with videos where they make you crack up at the way they react to someone else's opinion, if you want to form your own strong opinion and figure out whether you can do it yourself or get help, you have to actually look beyond a lot of these people that get a lot of clicks and a lot of attention by, doing these humorous, entertaining reaction videos, but there's not really a lot of substance there. And I think if you've seen people get attacked for their views in one of these reaction videos, it can cause you as a programmer to sort of think, well, I don't want to get attacked for my own opinions. And so I think a lot of times we silence ourselves when we really need help. We're not willing to reach out. We're worried about being seen as weak. And we essentially just stay stuck and never really move beyond certain things that we really ultimately have to if we're going to keep growing. Hey, and if you're considering keeping growing and want help, consider joining my Patreon. There's a link in the description. I've got a couple different ways you can join our community and get help from me and other developers that are trying to have a healthy software development career, so you don't have to do it alone. So enough of the negativity. Here's 5 reasons why it may be a bad idea to do it yourself. First, is this a low repeatability activity you're trying to do yourself? I'll give you an example for myself. I have a Fender amp, tube amp that I bought for my guitar. This was about a year and a half ago. It's not the one behind me. It's in another room. But when I bought it, the tubes in it were fine, but a lot of the electronics needed work. And I had done a little bit of work for my wife's tube turntable that she listens to records on, but I'd never worked on a guitar amp before. And I could have easily just brought that amp into a repair specialist. Now, I would have had to pay money, but it would have been a lot cheaper than what I did. I actually bought a bunch of tools. I spent a lot of time learning, and eventually I did repair it and improve it actually myself. But, if I'm honest, when I add up all the money that I spent, the time that I spent, the learning that I did to do that, is way, way more than if I would have just paid somebody to do it for me. And the other thing is now I have a bunch of specialized instruments and tools for helping with repairing tube amps. And I'm not planning on starting a tube amp repair business. So that's really just overhead. So if you're in a spot where you're stuck in your career learning something and you're thinking, well, I'll just do it myself. If it's something you're only going to do once, if you're not going to do it over and over and over again, even though you could learn it, you might consider just reaching out to someone who can teach it to you or who can kind of just get you past the thing that you got to do so you don't waste your time acquiring, knowledge or skill in something that you're not going to do more than once or twice. And that leads to the second way that you can kind of know it's probably a bad idea to try to do something yourself. And that's if it's outside your core skill set. If you've been programming for a long time, it's pretty normal to read an API for a new package or learn a new language because you've done it before. Yes, you're going to have to learn a lot of things. You might have to do some tutorials. You might have to, use it on the job and not really be great at it at first, but it's not completely foreign to you. But if you've been a developer for a long time and suddenly you're trying to do marketing or you're trying to do sales or you're trying to do infrastructure or anything that's really very outside of something you can already relate to, that can be a really good sign that doing it yourself, even though you may be capable of it, is going to be a much more expensive way to get past what you're trying to do than finding, again, someone else who can show you how to do it or really just letting someone else on your team do it in the first place. The third way to know doing it yourself, probably not a great idea anymore, is if you've already failed 3 times. Now, this is an arbitrary number, but let's say you're working on some feature in the code to meet some requirement and you work on it and you code it one way and you get pretty close, but doesn't quite work. And then the next day you come into work and you work on it again and you refactor it and you change it and you make the design a little bit different. And you think you got it this time, but you didn't quite get it. Again, some edge case isn't working or there's some aspect of the code. Darn it, you're not quite there. And then you decide again to come in again a third day, or maybe it's been a week now and you're just determined, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to do it myself. And you try to implement it again and you're still stuck. Stop. Get help. You're wasting time. You're wasting effort. You're only frustrating yourself. So, I think this do-it-yourself attitude that we have as developers, it's great for giving us resilience, helping us, initiate things, getting us unstuck, not making us completely reliant on other people. But if you've been trying to do the same thing over and over and over again, and you can't quite get it, just stop. Get the help that you need. Move past it. And the fourth way to know that doing it yourself may not be great in this situation is you keep putting it off. There are a lot of things when I started helping developers like you online through career coaching, through these videos, through the courses I offer, that were really new to me. marketing, sales, writing sales copy, doing all this different stuff, YouTube videos. And the things that I was really good at were making web pages, writing JavaScript, creating database tables, writing SQL queries. So when I would work on growing my business, I would often fall into spending more time on the stuff I was comfortable with, even though those weren't the things that I really needed to do to move my business forward. It was a lot of things that I wasn't good at because I'd never done them before. So I was procrastinating. And if you find yourself, you're procrastinating, that can not just be a sign that hey, you're just trying to avoid work. That's sort of a simple way to look at it. But it can be a sign that, hey, you're about to try to do something that is truly so far outside your core skill set that the reason why you're putting it off is because it's unrealistic for you to try to do it yourself in the first place. And you actually need to get help from somebody else. And the fifth way to know that it's probably better if you don't do it yourself is if you have really easy access to an expert. If you've got a coworker, let's say, that's just amazing at, setting up cloud infrastructure, and you have to spin up some service in AWS and you've never done it before, and you're already under a time crunch to hit, let's say, a deadline, why not just reach out to your friend or your coworker and get help? If you're stuck with not knowing where to go in your career and you've got easy access to a career coach or somebody at your company that can help you with career planning, or me or whoever, get help from that person. Don't just try to spin your wheels and do it yourself. I think doing things on gut feel is something that just comes natural to us as developers. We're used to just kind of wrestling through things and figuring it out no matter what. And a lot of times, people are not incentivized to work together anyway, because again, getting to the earlier part of the video, we're independently measured. But you need to do the cost benefit analysis yourself. If I spend the time and the money and the frustration to do this myself, is that actually worth it? Is it actually cheaper, effort-wise, time-wise, money-wise for me as a developer to do it myself? Or would it be cheaper for me to just get somebody else who already knows how to do this to do it for you or show you how to do it? So have you ever been stuck in your career because you have such a strong do-it-yourself or DIY mindset? How did you get unstuck? Where are you still stuck? What are some strategies you've maybe used to know, should I do this myself, or is this probably better for somebody else to do? Leave me some comments. Until next time, thanks.